And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are live. Welcome to the Whitfield Report. I'm your host, Sam Whitfield, broadcasting live from South Florida for a very special edition of the show tonight. Quick contact info as usual. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at SamW_NGC. Follow me on Gab at Sam Whitfield. Visit my website, thesamwhitfield.com, and like us on Facebook at Whitfield Report while you still can, and please subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and Apple Podcasts while you still can. Tonight's show will be focused specifically on the Alex Jones purge from social media, as I mentioned on Thursday's preview podcast. And I also mentioned I might be getting a guest on the show, and that did in fact happen. So for those of you who have been longtime listeners of the show, you will of course know who my good friend Dan Sandini of Daylight Disinfectant is, and he joins us now via Skype. And for those of you who are relatively new listeners, you are in for a treat. Dan is one of my closest friends in the political arena. I consider him a personal friend, and he's a citizen journalist and an all-around great guy. Dan, great to have you on the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the program, Sam, and welcome Whitfield Report fans, and welcome DaylightDisinfectant.com fans. My website continues to be up, even though I haven't added new content in a long time. All my old videos are there. So please go and frequent my videos and my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Daylight Disinfectant, all one word. And you can reach me at Twitter. I'm trying to build a Twitter following and to engage myself on Twitter these days since I'm in Facebook jail. So you'll find me at Daylight Dis. That's my handle on the Twitter. So thanks for having me on, Sam.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, as we were talking before the break, though, it'll be interesting, because it'll be interesting to see how long this broadcast, lasts on YouTube. If they'll take it down midstream. That's my big fear, for speaking out against the YouTube censorship. And of course, I guess the big story this week is Apple, Facebook, Spotify, and Google all blacklisted Alex Jones and InfoWars from their platform. And I've said from the beginning that even if you're not a particularly big fan of Alex Jones, which I'm kind of a lukewarm fan of his personally, I don't really dig the whole 9/11 was an inside job conspiracy theory that he's had. But, even with all that being said, I certainly don't think censorship is a good thing, whether it be from the government or from a big multinational corporation which has monopolies. That's just kind of been my take on it. And you've been pretty vocal about speaking out about this type of censorship. So what's your take on this whole deal with InfoWars?
I'll just say my opinion of Alex Jones to begin with is that's up front, and you did it, and I'll do it too. Is I like Alex Jones, and the reason why I like it is that I understand that Alex Jones is a blend of entertainment and news. Okay, well, most of the news that you get these days, even Sean Hannity. Okay, Sean Hannity is mostly a news guy with a conservative perspective, and everybody has their own perspective. So, he's that side, but still there's stuff in there that's just meant to be entertainment. Same thing with Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh runs a lot of parody stuff and that sort of stuff. But the thing about Alex Jones is that I don't think that he half believes, some of the stuff that he puts out there. And he just feeds half of the stuff that he puts out there is just feeding to the conspiracy theorists and just trying to, drum up viewership and that kind of thing. But then there's other people like Watson who's on his team out there, and I think that guys like that they really are the news these days. I mean, they show a lot of emotion when they report the news, but you're going to get more news, more reality more of the real story from somebody like Watson than you are going to get from watching CNN or watching MSNBC. I think so in any case, so that's how I feel about Alex Jones. But regardless of that, I think it's chilling the fact that you have these huge digital media platforms that colluded, since that seems to be the word of the century so far, collusion between them, right? To stifle free speech and take him off the air. You may disagree with what he has to say about FEMA camps and 9/11 and conspiracy theories, but
and gay frogs, don't forget.
I'm sorry.
And gay frogs, don't forget. So.
Yeah, you'd have to spin me up on the gay frog thing because I'm not with him on it. I don't follow it real closely, so I have seen some references, but I really don't know what that is.
I'll just kind of fill you in real quick. He did a story this was like 5 or 6 years ago now, where I guess he found out that there was some power plant somewhere in the Midwest that was it was like a water treatment facility that was dumping waste into one of the rivers, and I guess like a lot of this river contained like female supplements and estrogen and type thing, and I guess studies had shown that I don't know how exactly they tested this, but that the fish were engaging in somehow homosexual behavior. And so Alex Jones got a hold of this, and in his usual flamboyant and entertaining manner, said something like they're making the freaking frogs gay. So it became an internet meme, and that's kind of what he's one of the things he's known for. So and I agree with you. Other than the conspiracy theory stuff, I do like when he does citizen journalism, and I more often than not he's more into the news stuff these days, which is what I like. But even again, that just reinforces the point that it's chilling what's happening. So.
Yeah, how can you you can't. There are people who say that they really dislike him. There's segments of his show where he has Donald Trump on, and there's segments of his show where he has James O'Keefe on, who I'm obviously a big fan of, and he has featured some of these really hard-hitting news stories that have just been ignored by the mainstream media. So, but you have to be able to sort it out in your own brain, but I think intelligent people can do that. And they can laugh at the other stuff, which is what I usually do. Like if I had seen the gay frog story, I would think that's amusing, and now that I know what it's about, I'll when I see the memes, I'll find them amusing as well. But there's also real news that's on InfoWars, and you've got to sort and sift through it yourself, and that's part of the appeal of Alex Jones and who he is and that whole thing. And so but to take him off the air, I mean, and the really scary part about that is it dropped off the radar. I think they almost planned to do it. What did they do it on Thursday or on Wednesday? I can't remember. It's always one of the two.
I think they did it. I think they did it like late. They did it late Wednesday, but it was so late, like in the day, that I think they did it in the evening. That most people were already in bed or close to it, so it really didn't break until Thursday. If anyone in the live chat comments wants to type and correct me, feel free to do so. But I think it happened on Wednesday, but the story broke on Thursday. So,
and it's gone today. I mean, I've been on all day. No one is really talking about it. The only person is Mark Dice, and we were talking about that I think I've seen today is Dice talking about it, and that was 4 hours ago. So that's we're talking midday on Saturday. He's talking about it, and he's talking about Vox, who, as you were telling me earlier, is a total fake news site anyway. But they run a few websites where they put fake content out there for people to click on and as clickbait. And he was saying how they're talking about trying to get Comcast to take off Fox. I mean, and he believes that. Yeah, people should check out Mark Dyson's feed from a couple of 4 hours ago, and look at what they're trying to do to Fox. Now, will they ever be successful at doing that? I doubt it. But these people will stifle free speech to the extent that they possibly can, and if they can get away with it, they will. And if you give them an inch, they're going to take a yard. And people may say, "Oh, that's just Alex Jones." That's the danger here. That's really the danger. Is that you say, "Oh, it's just Alex Jones," but they'll come for you next. What's next? Rush Limbaugh says some pretty edgy things. Okay, what's the blurring line between what's acceptable and what's not acceptable? And to these people, pedophilia is acceptable, but I guess gay frogs are not. I guess that's the message that we get from these digital media platforms.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've always said in regards to Alex Jones, I mean, look, I like some of what he said. As far as a lot of the conspiracy stuff goes, I disagree with it, but it's his free speech. And, if anyone disagrees with the conspiracy theory stuff, instead of trying to shut him down or, instead of trying to claim that, I guess the big claim that people are making as to why Facebook shut him down was racism and whatnot, which is really bizarre because he's, you have to admit, he has said some really bizarre shit in the past, but I don't think any of it was, none of it that I've seen has been racial or anything. I mean, he has black conservatives like Diamonds and Silicon all the time on his show, but, be that as it may, I would think that the best antidote, if you really wanted to fight conspiracy theories or any of the quote-unquote crazy stuff that he says, the best antidote to that would be to have someone else, do a video explaining why he's wrong. Do like a counterpoint thing, which is what Facebook and YouTube and all these social media platforms are supposed to be for. They're supposed to be for spreading different ideas and starting a discussion. And yet, I guess the thing that really scares me is these big, tech corporations are essentially saying, well, some speech is just too dangerous to simply even exist. So.
Yeah, and who decides what acceptable content is? Who decides what's a good conversation and not a good conversation, which is basically what's going on at Twitter right now. Is they have a board of people that are hired that they've hired that are just well-known liberals, outspoken liberals that are deciding what's good content and what's not good content. And I just think that's a real slippery slope because the people that they're going to ban and the people that they are banning are people like you and me, and the people who get to say whatever they want are people like Gunn, who's can post pictures of himself at pedophilia parties, and they're out there for years and nothing happens, and then all of a sudden, there they are, and still they haven't taken him down. He'll delete his own content when somebody draws attention to it, but Twitter leave it out there. They're not going to ban. When's the last time you heard a liberal complain about being banned, for hate speech on any platform anywhere? I don't think it exists. There's nobody.
Well, funny that you should bring that up. Jimmy Dore, who is a liberal comedian, he actually supposedly got banned, or not banned on Twitter, but he got his account locked out, because he simply tweeted, saying, "Hey, look, I disagree with Alex Jones on a lot, but this is bullshit. The man still has freedom of speech, to speak his mind." So that's chilling in and of itself too. That hey, look, you even have liberals coming to the defense of Jones, and now they're getting flogged, for stepping outside of the line, so to speak.
Yeah,
which is
if you're low on the totem pole for if you're low on the totem pole for the libs, then they're willing to throw you under the bus. Probably, I guess, is what that's all about.
yeah. I mean, and I mean, going back to your whole earlier point of, oh well, they're just going after Alex Jones. That was I don't. Well, I don't want to name drop here, but well, I might as well since it's on Facebook and this person was posting it publicly. But Justin Charters, who is an IJR columnist, he really does not like Alex Jones, and he was actually cheering the banishment of Alex Jones from Facebook, and I commented on his post, and I said, hey, look, dude, you might disagree with Alex Jones, but don't think that the left likes you either, buddy. And see, this is the whole problem: is even if Alex Jones is controversial, eventually what Facebook is going to start doing, and eventually what YouTube is going to start doing, is they'll go after the big ones with the big huge audience. And then they'll go after the smaller guys like you and I, who are completely independent, citizen journalists and commentators, who have a couple
they already have
hundred listeners.
And this may be interesting to your listeners, and because some of them are YouTubers. I know you're a YouTuber and that kind of thing, but the way to they did come after me for a number of videos, okay. That I had on my channel, and I have some pretty big videos. I have some that are, I don't know, 300,000, 400,000 real views, not bot views, but real views. Bot, BOUGHT, which apparently you can do that now. I was reading about it today. Just buy views if you want to. But in any case, but the way to successfully fight that is to use their own rules against them, and buried deep inside the rules on YouTube is that if the video is newsworthy, you're allowed to keep it. Okay, so for example, if I show nudity that goes outside of their guidelines, okay, or if I let's see, what do they try? Oh, I identify somebody personally. Okay, so some of these people, some of these Antifa guys that have come after me, I've named them up. I bet let's tag them up and put their names up there and show what they did. Okay, this person did this. Okay, on this particular date. And broke windows or assaulted someone or that sort of thing and put their name on it. Well, these people have themselves and all their friends go out and flag your video. That's how that goes. Then YouTube takes it down, okay, and says you can fight it, okay, but we want to hear from you, on why. And the way I successfully fought those was with the help of people like Andrew Breitbart when he was still alive, James O'Keefe, Victoria Taft, Jane Carroll, Lars Larson, and these guys who I've been on their shows before, they backed me up. And I wrote an email back and said, hey, I've appeared on all these news shows. This is newsworthy, okay, which is what it says in their rules, that if something's newsworthy, it should be saying. It said, not only is it newsworthy, it's news, okay? And the other stuff that you're leaving out there is not news, okay? And that worked, okay? But that was years ago now, 2 or 3 years. Breitbart died in 2012, so we're really getting out there now. So 6 years ago, I was able to fight it. Now, folks like Leo Stratton, by the way, if folks haven't seen Leo Stratton's videos, he's got some great videos of the Antifa out in Portland out there. He's a friend of yours, he's a friend of mine. But he has been unsuccessful at fighting the demonetization of his channel. And big guys like Dice, they can fight it. And they have fought it successfully for a number of different things, but they get all their views in the first, 24, 48 hours. And so, if you don't turn that around fast, you lose all your, you lose any money that you make off of ad space on your videos. So, and that's what they do now. Now they demonetize them. That's their game.
Yeah.
And, he's stuck with selling T-shirts to, try and make a buck.
Yeah, well, tell Leo to. I'll reach out to him after the show too, because I actually, it's funny we're talking about demonetization stories. I've actually had to fight a couple of those myself. Just last week, TMZ came after me and wanted to demonetize one of my videos because I had used one of their clips. I had used footage they had of one of the Trump protesters damaging the Hollywood star on the Walk of Fame, and so TMZ had the video, and I properly, credited them, for the video and named the source and all that. Immediately after my broadcast, they demonetized my video and said it could still, be shown on YouTube, but that it would be technically owned by TMZ and Warner Brothers. So I had to fill out one of those demonetization things too, saying, no, I was using this footage under fair use, meaning that I was using it for news and commentary purposes, and so I would like the rights to this video back. Now, fortunately, after about 3 weeks, they did give it back to me. So now that video is back in my possession. But yeah, I mean, it is a major pain in the ass. So
yeah, you can win on fair use too. That's if you're borrowing a small section of somebody else's content to comment on it, of course, the courts have ruled that you can do that in order to. That's free speech. I mean, you could take a short clip and be able to talk about it, just like you can take a snippet and when you're writing an article, put it in quotes and there you go. You can use it. But if even with original content, they've tried to, on other rules, I guess, identify someone personally. That's another big one that they use. Have their friends all click on it. Their back channel groups all get together and just gang up on your video, and then they'll end up, YouTube will end up either taking it down. They've done that a few times, and now demonetization seems to be violates the rule, so we'll demonetize your video.
Or
I don't know about I don't understand it, but that's what they do in the dice anyway.
Or what they've also tried doing to me with Twitter is I had last year in 2017 I had a young conservative who I interviewed on my show who got beat up by Antifa earlier in 2017. So I had him on my show last year, and this year he came out as being like a big he hasn't said it officially, but he's made videos on his channel and made other statements essentially endorsing Richard Spencer, the white nationalist piece of shit guy. And, so this guy has turned from being a mainstream conservative into basically a neo-Nazi. Well, the left, they sent after their trolls and their bots to try and get me and saying, hey, Sam Whitfield is associating with, neo-Nazis and, giving a platform to someone who has hate speech. And so then I had to write Twitter back and, saying, hey, I didn't know that this guy was, had these views at the time. So yeah, I mean, it's a big.
You don't vet everybody that makes a comment on your videos. I've decided to make my videos. My videos are like, they're like the bathroom wall, in the toilet, where you can write anything you want up there. If I feel like painting over it, I will. Okay, but for the most part, you take a marker and write all you want. Write all you want all over my walls. By the way, people, if you're out there on my videos at YouTube.com, Daylight Disinfectant, just write what you want up there. It's seldom that I see something that comes across. So there may be anti-Semitic comments out there. It doesn't mean that I agree with them, and right. I hope that other people who read them, really, if you write an anti-Semitic comment or something like that, I hope somebody flags it because I don't want that stuff out there. But it's not my job to police free speech. I think you're a jerk for denying the Holocaust. Okay, but are you allowed to say it? I mean, you're allowed to say it, and so you're allowed to have a lot of people think and say that you're a moron. Okay, that's you're an idiot for doing it, but it's not my job to silence you. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of stuff that I defend your right to be able to say, even as disgusting as it is. There's certain boundaries there, I think. And it's interesting because this week on one of the things that Beck and what's his name, the other guy from Fox, who oh Jesus, my God, my brain's not working too well right now, Sam. But Beck was talking about this entire Alex Jones thing, and whether you agree with it or not agree with it. And Glenn Beck said, straight out, he can't stand Alex Jones. I mean, just no, but he sort of defends his right to be able to say what he wants to say. And there's I think where you really have to look at it is in a legal boundary. Is it against the law? Has Congress decided, or has some state legislature decided that that's not allowable and can be disallowed under the Constitution? There are some things that, the Supreme Court has affirmed the ability for local governments, county governments, state governments, city governments, to put reasonable limits on free speech. Okay? That's been decided a million times over. Okay? So they can do that. So if it's illegal, I guess you could take it down. But I don't think anything nobody's made the argument that what Alex Jones has said. Anything he said has been illegal that I'm aware of.
I read a brilliant argument today. I can't even remember who the blogger was. It was some independent guy on Medium, which is one of those platforms where anyone can go and write articles. But this guy basically wrote an article and basically said, one of the things that a lot of people are complaining with Alex Jones about is that he supposedly made he supposedly said that Sandy Hook was a false flag back in 2012 or whenever. Well, that was 6 years ago, and why are people all of a sudden complaining about that now in 2018? If it was so outrageous that he said that back then, why weren't people pushing it for him to get banned back in 2012? So that argument doesn't really hold water either. And I thought that was a really good point as well. So
yeah, I mean, that's the game that's being played out there right now. Is dig through the old tweets, find anything, from years ago, take it out of context, and then, broadcast it as loud as you can in microcosm, and, get that person's speech taken off the air. What I was trying to think about where I heard back is, I guess he's calling once a week. It may be Fridays. Was it yesterday that I listened to it? I think so. Yeah. And Bill O'Reilly puts it out on the O'Reilly Factor, which I guess is his website or whatever his website is these days.
Oh,
and so
yeah.
It's free content. So he talks to Beck once a week, which, I liked Bill O'Reilly when he was on the air, and Glenn Beck, of course he kind of went crazy, basically, in my opinion, he went crazy. But I always have a soft spot in my heart for Glenn Beck because I met him one time on the set of his show. And he's an incredibly personable guy, very intelligent guy, a very likable guy, and a guy I think that was very giving of his time and that sort of thing. And I just think he's probably had some personal problems in his life. I don't know. I know he was an alcoholic for a while, but I don't know whether that's come back or what the problem was. But just listening to that conversation between Bill O'Reilly and Glenn Beck, I think they did maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour on this topic of Alex Jones. And, both of them agreed. But I think O'Reilly's twist is, and, he always seems to, he's always got firm ground to land on. He's a little like Lars Larson that way. He's always got good terra firma under his feet. And what he says is, and I guess that makes some sense to me, is that if it's illegal, there should be somebody watching to take it off the air. And that's gone on for years, right? With the FCC, right? You penalize people, and if you let an F-bomb, we can say it here, thankfully, okay, but you can't say it on AM radio. And I know, you and I both done a number of regular radio programs. You just have to be aware that, you just can't go shouting that stuff. There's no time delay up at KUIK. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
So if it flips out, bang. So O'Reilly's thing is legality. And I guess that, Well, there's some merit in that form of the argument. Is that if you really want to ban something, get a state legislature to pass a law, and then for that state, their Supreme Court, their state Supreme Court, wherever it is, Oregon, Florida, New Jersey, wherever the hell it happens to be, affirms that is a limitation on free speech. It's allowable on that state constitution, and if somebody else wants to fight it again, and go all up the Supreme Court. I mean, they can decide whether it is or it isn't. But there are certain things that I think that you can't go on the air and advocate pedophilia. You can't do that. That's wrong. Dangerous children.
Right.
It erodes the fundamental foundations of our society. Does it affect free speech? Well, I guess it does in a way, but I think the way the Supreme Court would look at that is that if it ends up harming a child, how is that child going to have free speech? All right. So that's why we have these limitations. So in any case, I think I like O'Reilly's argument, and I would say people go out and listen to that. I listened to it this week live, and I thought it was great.
Yeah, O'Reilly does segments with Dennis Miller too, who I also like, and I think
he's so awesome.
And
one of the funniest people ever exist.
Yeah, I used to call into his radio show back when he had a radio show. I would call in like 2 or 3 times a month, and I think I was probably the youngest listener of his show at the time. But yeah, it wasn't like, he basically said the same thing. He said, yeah, Alex Jones, he may be a bit of a kook at times, but
that's right.
But
part of the fun.
But trying to censor him outright is just a little far extreme. Well, Dan, one of the things I wanted to ask you, because this has cropped up a lot too, whether it be Milo being banned from Twitter or Alex Jones being banned from basically all social media.
Not Twitter. I saw his Twitter come across today, so he's still on Twitter.
Well, for right now, who knows how long that will last.
Thank God, he's got one channel left, right? No.
Right. Well,
anyway, go ahead, Sam. I know you want to ask me something, but
oh no problem. There's been discussion on, and I'm sure you've seen these floating around Facebook, especially since you and I kind of run in the same circles. There's been a big debate over whether or not we should have the government step in and break up these. It almost seems like Facebook and YouTube. The argument I've heard is that Facebook and Twitter and all of these big social media platforms basically have a monopoly on social media, and that the danger of that is that they can basically choose to censor whoever they want if they don't align. Now, I've heard the argument that having the government step in would be a good idea. I've also heard the counter argument from a lot of conservatives, which also makes a lot of sense, that no, we need less government regulation. You don't want the government stepping in and running Facebook, because then it'll just become a big bureaucracy, like everything else that the government does. So, I'm curious to know where you kind of stand on that, and do you think Trump or the government should step in to any of this?
I think you're right. If you really think it through, and there's been times where I've said, hey, have the government take it over, sue them under Sherman antitrust, government take it over and break it up. I guess in the long run, I watched that happen to Ma Bell under, while I was alive. It was one phone company, the government broke it up, and now we've got several, providers, and they have cell phones now, which didn't exist in those days. And so I guess that sort of competition is healthy. But, what are you going to do with are these things really, you don't really have one monolith until they begin ganging up on people, which is what they've started to do right now. So although my gut reaction is, yeah, maybe the government should take it over, I think that more along the lines of our discussion before we got on the air here about Milo is really the way to go, and that's sue these people in civil court. And, if you can get, there's your real collusion, okay? If you have Google and Apple, okay, working together, and Facebook, okay, to take you to to stifle your free speech, which they're doing to Alex Jones right now. You make the argument that you've got one channel left, but maybe they did leave the one channel just for that reason. Who knows what these guys talked about? Okay, but if you've got them ganging up on you, then you can sue them. You can say, hey, you can't get together and stifle competition like that, which is what they're doing basically. Is they're saying, hey, you know what, you can't talk at all. Period. So not one of us is going to benefit off that, because that if they killed him on one channel, that he's going to pick up on all the other channels. Okay, so that's probably happening right now on Twitter. Once I saw him go by in the Twitter today, it's like, oh, I got to remember to check him every day now on Twitter, because I know where it is. I won't go to his website, but I'll check him while I'm on Twitter because I'm on there all the time. But yeah, I think that a more rational approach to that is, you and I couldn't afford to sue them. Okay, when they took our videos down and they ganged up on us, and if they had not put my videos back, Sam, I have enough capital that I probably would have sued them. Okay, I was that angry at that time, but they did. They backed off, and I think that the reason why they did is because there were some big names that were involved, and I checked in with them and I told them I was going to use their names, and they did. They said it was okay, so I did that, and that worked. So I had a big enough hammer. But people like Leo don't have a big enough hammer.
Right.
Okay? They just don't. And the way you gain a hammer with these people is money and lawyers. And if Alex Jones lawyers up, and which is exactly what I would do exactly what I'd join Milo. That's what I would do. And they can have it out in the courts. And then if the civil courts don't work, well, then if we win the Congress back, then you can probably get them. You could probably get them successfully shut down or broken up under Sherman antitrust, and that'd be the end of that.
I mean, I think if there were to be any sort of government intervention, that would be, I would be all for that. I wouldn't be for the government necessarily coming in and regulating and running them, but certainly I think breaking up these, big monopolies, kind of like the Sherman antitrust, and simply, laying some kind of groundwork. I mean, that's kind of already Ted Cruz's proposing, I guess. There was that big hearing that he did with Mark Zuckerberg a few months ago in Congress, where, he basically asked Zuckerberg a whole bunch of questions about privacy, and you saw Zuckerberg sweating and trying to drink water like a human being, but he couldn't. So.
Well, he didn't do terrible. He didn't do terrible. I think he survived the day, but I think they're going to sue him into oblivion. I think that's what's going to happen with them.
Yeah.
He's going to. I think the people are going to sue Mark Zuckerberg. That's going to be his downfall. I think you've seen what's happened to his stock as well. They're just not getting the. People are looking for other platforms, and I hear you say people keep talking about Gab and what is it, MeWe, and these other platforms that I just don't use them. I barely, because I'm an older person, but younger people should be out there, trying to push these new platforms.
The only problem I have with Gab is that there are a lot of alt-right people on there, who say stuff like gas, the kikes and whatnot. So, and for those who are watching to ban my video, I'm not saying that as a quote. I'm just using that as an example. So, covering my bases.
Yeah.
There.
Oh no, it's a great example. It's like, do you want to read that in every feed that you read? You can't flag every one of them, and it probably doesn't break the rules of the platform. You probably
Right. The thing with Gab is they literally have no rules except for you can't dox people and you can't show child porn. Pretty common sense ones. Other than that, it's a little bit. It's pretty much like a free-for-all, almost, a little bit too much of one sometimes. So that's the only problem with Gabs. And I haven't tried MeWe yet, only because I feel like that's one. I'm already signed into a whole bunch of these social media platforms to promote the show, and I'm kind of like, well, that's just one more that I have to keep up with, and trying to update that
Yeah.
constantly. So,
Yeah, I think
um,
Twitter would be a great. I think Twitter would be a great platform if you could eliminate what they are really doing. And people if people do not believe that they are censoring conservative speech on Twitter, you're not follow. You haven't got your eye on the ball because it's absolutely happening. James O'Keefe has gone undercover in the Silicon Valley with people who work there, not the management, okay, but people who work there, and they have admitted, okay, that the software engineers have lists of keywords that flag conservative speech, and that these guys who are monitoring, they have algorithms that do it, but they get flagged for people to look at it manually too, and if it has anything to do with right wing speech at all, the guy's got a picture of a pickup truck with a conservative flag in the back. That tweet may not look like it got deleted, but no one is seeing it. So you're shadow banned.
right,
You're
yeah.
shadow.
Which I've been shadow banned a couple of times, and then I've done stuff to where I'm not to where I haven't been shadow banned lately. So that's good. And that goes back to the whole thing of, well, geez, maybe these are the types of antitrust things that we should, be looking out for. I mean, I don't know, and that's the continuing debate I'm having with
You know
all.
what it'll look like, Sam? This is the thing. This is what will happen. They will treat it like. So it'll be like the post office, okay, which is the worst monopoly of them all. But well, no, now we have Obamacare, so I guess that's probably worse, okay. But you get the post office where nothing, the mail always gets delivered, and no matter who mails a letter, unless it's safe, it's still going to get there, okay. It might cost you more every. But innovation is something that's just not going to happen. So some of the things that we've seen change in Twitter, like for example, like the thing you've been able to see, real-time videos show, okay, in your feed. Used to be that, you have to click on the video, then you go to the video, and then you roll the video, and now you can see the video transpiring, okay, inside of your feed. That's sort of taken for granted. That's sort of innovation, and sort of the live things like Periscope, which got incorporated in, and those sorts of things. And on Facebook, another great example is that, they have like the Snapchat features now, my story, our story, and this kind of stuff, okay? That those innovative features working their way into these tools, that will go to a screeching halt, okay? It'll look exactly the same way that the day that the government took it over, okay? And your level of service will be exactly what that is, and maybe even expect to pay for it. That's what I would say.
Yeah, no, it's a good argument. So I mean, and it's that's kind of the slippery slope thing. It's like, geez, we don't want big mega corporations censoring us because that's a big problem. But then we don't want the government, taking it over because that'll just fuck everything up. So
Yeah.
you know,
Fix Twitter and fix Twitter and fix Facebook. I think that's really and then allow, of course, there's always going to be competition for other things that might take them out at some day in the future. But, fix them in terms of their shadow banning and stifling of conservative speech, and politicians. I mean, you've got politicians that are involved now. I mean, what do you have? Jim Jordan. You were typing in the search box, you type in Jim Jordan up at the top, and it wouldn't find him. I noticed that myself before it came up that they actually noticed it. Okay, but and then you have Twitter coming out saying, hey, it was it was just a bug in the algorithm. Yeah, I'm sure it was just a bug. Only it didn't happen. They couldn't find any liberal politicians it was happening to. There's a long list of conservatives that it wasn't working for. So
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, they tried doing the same thing with Mia Love, who is a black conservative congresswoman. I forget which state she's from, but she had posted a campaign ad where she affirmed that she was pro-life in her campaign ad, and supposedly that got supposedly that got flagged, and banned on Twitter as, being potentially harmful and dangerous content. Twitter
Racist.
Twitter claimed Twitter claimed later that was an algorithm error, but I totally believe that was an algorithmic error. Yeah, right. So.
Yeah, in a way, before we leave Alex Jones entirely, in a way, I'm glad it happened, and this is the reason why. Is because we've been getting beat up by this stuff as little guys, okay, for how long, and no one has, I could say, given a fuck on your channel, okay. So nobody gave a crap, okay. Now, people may have given a crap, but nobody's going to do anything about it, or it's losing night's sleep about it, okay.
Right.
But the higher you ratchet it up, okay, the more people begin to take notice, like, ooh, they took out Alex Jones. What are they going for next? Now people are suffering the pain that I suffered in 2012. So we're 6 years later. So these guys, it's 6 years. They've slowly been turning up the temperature under the frog that's in the pot, right? That's slowly being heated up. Doesn't know that it's being boiled. Okay. But, that's what's happening right now. And beware, people. You're next. Just say it.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, well, next, I think I heard that now Crowder is in, is potentially in trouble, and I mean, I've never met him, but I know Crowder online, and I think you know him too.
Yep,
so.
I met him at BlogCon 2013 after Breitbart died. He's an interesting guy. Nothing bothers him at all. I can tell you right now, because he's been totally punched in the face and assaulted, and that just, at least he doesn't show it when he talks to me. He was pretty still water about it. So
believe me, I think things might be changing now with Facebook and Twitter going after his thing, and that's mainly because now he's running the business end of everything with his show. So
when I listen to Crowder, it's like I think that he would be great on radio. But I mean, it's such a small pond that it's very difficult to get a spot in there someplace. But
yeah,
you should do the fill-in for somebody. I don't know who, but I have to think about who kind of comes across as Crowder. But I think that he would be great. Great. He's great at lining up the clips, commenting on the clips, and he's really he's quite funny. Sometimes he's quite funny, but then there's also he also is sometimes he's a good comedian and can really make me laugh.
Yeah.
A couple segments that he's done that's really made me laugh. But I did see it come across. Now I haven't checked back on YouTube that they pulled the plug entirely on him on YouTube, but I haven't gone to check. So people might want to go out and see if Steven Crowder is still out there on YouTube. But I haven't seen his videos come across. Now we're thinking about it. Usually I see the YouTube video come across in Twitter, and I haven't seen that lately. So I'm kind of thinking that it's been successful. I saw that what's his name? Not Gay Jared is that his sidekick that's usually helping him? He had his last day the other day. I saw that come across on something. So
yeah, I mean, I guess there were rumors that Jared got canned or whatever, but I guess the truth is, I was in touch with people who know Crowder better than I do, and I guess what they told me is, I guess Jared's actually not gay, and that was kind of the whole joke, is that you never can tell. I guess he and his wife are now having a child, and so he had to move
funny
on.
For a while, but after a while, it's not so funny anymore.
And
when the wife gets involved, can we call him something else? And now you're branded with that. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, not only when you have a wife, but especially when you have a kid, coming in, I'm sure that when the kid is 12 or something, his peers are going to find video of his dad being called, not gay Jared, long before he was born. So I do feel kind of, I feel sorry for the kid. But
yeah, it's time to move on to something else. That's what I would say. Don't try and deny it or stifle it or own it. It was you. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
You
But
can
I
move
mean,
on.
as far as the censorship thing, I don't think they've censored you know, Crowder directly. I don't think they've pulled his content, but because if I go and search for it manually myself, I can still find it, but like it's not showing up in my watch feed. I have to go manually look for it now. So
Yo, yeah,
um,
that's where I usually get my Crowder announcements. I get them in the email. That's it. I'm subscribed on YouTube, so I'll get an email.
yeah,
I don't think I've seen an email recently, so
yeah.
maybe that's
Well,
it.
yeah. I know he's kind of been off. I mean, if you want to talk biz real quick, I think when he made the move to CRTV, I think it was an interesting choice. But the problem is, and you and I both know our way around tech is the CRTV platform I signed up for, and it's a very buggy app. It's almost unusable in terms of the bugs. So I know that
Oh,
they
really? I didn't know that. I mean, I see the ads for it go by, but I don't use it.
it's really buggy and it's really expensive. It's like $99 and then $69 if you're a student, which is still really expensive, like for a podcasting platform essentially.
Yeah,
So
nobody's gonna pay for it. Who pays for stuff? Nobody. Right?
well, I mean,
Pay your internet bill. That's about it.
I did, but I'm thinking of canceling my subscription. In 2019 if they don't fix things soon. So
It's too spendy for that's too spendy for that's outside of my. I'll catch them on. I'll catch the best clips on YouTube. And that kind of thing. I won't pay for it. As much as I
yeah,
love the people who are out there. I love Michelle Malkin. I think she's great. Um, and I guess these people figure that if they're that good, they'll pay for it. But not that good.
well, I have a Patreon. I have a Patreon page where people can contribute, but that's optional. That people can do that, and
Oh yeah.
I was like taking that approach. But hey, and like hey, if you can pitch in, please do. But if you can't, I understand as well. So
When I was a YouTuber, always figured my contribution was free videos. I'd spent countless hours editing these
yeah,
things, and going to these events, and getting assaulted, and all these things. And then it's free content for you to get views to your site, or give you something to talk about, get people on your show, and those kinds of things. But that used to be my contribution. And God, I did that for how long, Sam? I started in 2009. I guess I finished up. Haven't really put out a solid video in probably about 3-4 years now. So, I did it for a half dozen years. You can only take being a citizen journalist for so long, and then at some point you got to be a citizen, and because you just can't get if you are a conservative citizen journalist and you're covering hard-headed news, you are going to get attacked. I mean, people, it's on the public. You can Google my name, my name in Time Magazine. You're going to come up with $1 million lawsuit, and you're gonna come up with I guess it's a 6-page criminal complaint that they sent to Becerra, who's the Attorney General for the state of California, against me. You know what I mean? So they will keep ratcheting up the pressure. Okay, the more successful that you are, and I never wanted to make a career out of it. I did this later in life as just something to do in my retirement. But it's sort of like a ham radio operator. That's what guys used to do, right? Put an antenna on your roof and go up in the attic and see if you can reach Tokyo. And for us, it was roll on the YouTube camera in 2011 down at the Tea Party and see if you can get Sean Hannity to run your video, which we did successfully many times. And Anita Breitbart picked up on them, and then we got in movies and those kinds of things. So, to us it was a game. It was to me, and laughing at liberals for example out in Portland, it was just it's for sport. There you go. It finally came to me, Sam. It's for we did it for sport and to push the agenda. But to try and make a living off of it, I don't know how people do it. I don't know how people like Ben Shapiro can actually make a living off of social media. Right? I don't
yeah.
know.
Well, I mean, that is one of the things. I mean, I didn't start off doing it, for monetization purposes, but after 10 years, I just figured, I'm celebrating my 10th year of doing this show now, so I kind of figured, well, I might as well try and do some monetization. And to my surprise, I've gotten a few dollars. Nothing major. I'm not ready to buy a brand new studio, but I am kind of surprised I've been able to make a few dollars off of it, and I hope that will continue. But even if I weren't getting paid to do it, I would still do it for free. So,
James, the guy who said to me, "Don't give your videos away." That's what he said to me. You're giving your videos away. Don't give your videos away.
Yeah,
that's your life's blood. No, take money for it. That I don't. I never could figure out how to make a business model out of it. Maybe I'm just not that good. But you don't see that many people do it. I guess you see Crowder. He's still struggling around. I mean, they're. I don't know. I'm trying to think of some examples of people who have, graduated from doing it for funsies as an amateur, quote unquote, right, and turned it into a professional sport. Are there anybody? I don't think there's anybody. And then I've seen people. I don't know how long you have tonight, but I've seen people. Like Carl Higby, who's a guy who got out of the service that I know. And, he went straight on a Fox. I mean, like, how does that work? I mean, it's like, bang, all of a sudden you see this guy on Fox. He looks good, talks well. I mean, so there's a lot of, who to the news business, the quote unquote news business, which is really the entertainment business. And, the entertainment business is, it's as much, who your friends are and who you know.
Yeah.
Whether you're a hard-hitting news person. I'm not taking anything away from people like Megyn Kelly or Laura Ingraham and even Bill O'Reilly Bill O'Reilly was the anchor guy out in Portland. So some of these guys made their way up through traditional media for sure, but to think of it making your way up through social media onto big platforms like I don't know any.
James
O'Keefe made a business out of it. James O'Keefe made a business out of it there. That's about the only.
Yeah.
one example, but that's.
Well, I mean, and I'm kind of trying to do mid transition. I guess I'm kind of in between right now. Since I am starting to get a little recognition after only 10 years. The one that always slays me, and I don't I don't mean anything bad, but the one that always slays me is Tommy Lahren. Basically a blonde hot chick who basically she got hired by Glenn Beck right out of college. To my knowledge, she had no media experience prior to that job on the Blaze. She gets canned by Beck and then goes into Fox News, and I think I've been doing broadcasting longer than she has, and yet she's getting paid for it. So but then again, I'm not a hot chick either. So go
sex
figure.
Sells,
Yeah.
Find your own way. I look at I don't know. Glenn Beck, you take one look at Glenn Beck, he's not an ugly guy or anything like that. He's, a portly, elderly gentleman, but, he carved his niche but still there, he was never a social media person to begin with, made the jump. And, you may want to look, we're kind of really getting off topic, but, James made it into a non-for-profit. That's how he did it, and brought in donors. Made no secret about the fact that he was conservative or, he had a bent towards conservatism. He has had conservatives as targets. So to say that he exclusively goes after liberal targets is not true. Okay. James goes after the truth. So, yeah, he's, found a few big donors. So now if you can get, one donor to write your check to begin with, and then hire somebody that knows their way around the donors, once you get a few big checks from, you make a friend out of the Koch brothers, you're not going to have to worry about selling ad space anymore,
Yeah.
You're all set. You get tens of millions. You'd have to look at the 990s to see where his money's coming from and that kind of thing. But there are plenty of, there's plenty of opportunity, I would say, actually, because there's not that many people that have done that. James is the only one that I know that, you've got some other sort of similar sites like Judicial Watch, which does a great job, You know, there's another business model right there. You know, I mean, they're a non-for-profit. You know, that's how they've done that. You know, carve your niche, do some good stories about, you know, particular targets that are of interest to people with money, and you know, get donations that way. I don't know. It just comes to mind as one possibility.
Sure. Well, anyway, Dan, we're approaching the hour, so I want to thank you for coming on the show. Any final thoughts that you want to bring up before we wrap up?
No, I would encourage anybody who's out there who's just starting to listen to your podcast, and maybe it's somebody who's where we were 10 years ago, Sam. It seems impossible that it was 10 years ago, but I encourage them, and I'm sure you would encourage them, to grab a video camera and go down to your local political rallies and film what you see and put it up on YouTube, and you'd be amazed at the number of views you can get. And you know, each one of us, you know, everybody has a phone, so you know, we are the new media, as Andrew Breitbart used to say. You know, thank everybody for tuning in. If they want to check out my Twitter, it's the best place to reach me is out at Twitter, and my handle on Twitter is DaylightDis.
Yes, the one last thing I want to bring up is you know, it's amazing because you and I have known each other since 2013,
Wow.
which is crazy. I was introduced to you by Tammy Jackson, who I don't really know what happened to her. I haven't seen her around much. I think she kind of went never Trump during the 2016 election, but you know, that's how you and I got hooked up, and you know, knowing each other. And
She's a never recovered, never Trumper. I don't know. I haven't touched base with Tammy for a long time. I was out in Portland recently.
Yeah, I don't know, but you know, I certainly do know. I'm thankful that, you know, she introduced me to you, and you know, that you introduced me to Leo, and so, you know, it's just, you know, I was just thinking, I'm like, wow, I've known Dan for, you know, close to 8 years now. Seems crazy. So.
It does seem crazy. It does not seem like it's been that long, and it never looked like we were going to win like we're winning now. But I think we would both agree, may not be exactly what we wanted, but we got what we need, and you know, we're winning more than we're losing now. Thank God.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I think, at least for me, and at least for Leo too, it's done wonders for, you know, our videos and for our, you know, streams, because, you know, more people are, you know, even if we're not making money, more people are viewing us because, you know, we're kind of in the Trump era right now, and so that's the other reason why it's, you know, such a good time to, you know, start doing this if you're a citizen out there. So you
got top cover now. Yep,
so.
You've got some top cover now. We didn't have top cover under Obama for 8 years. That was terrible.
Oh, God, no. So, but anyway, Dan, I want to thank you for coming on the show, and folks, I do encourage you to check out his videos on YouTube. Well, they're still up, and you know, on the off chance that YouTube hasn't blacklisted him, and you know, who knows? I hope this.
They hear about it here. They're probably going out there right now.
Yeah, I hope. Well, you know, who knows? This video might not last, you know, for too long. But anyway, thanks for joining me, Dan, and folks, thanks you for tuning in. I'll be back next week, same time, same channel, and good night. God bless, and God save this great nation.